For years, Justin Trudeau relentlessly dehumanized the unvaccinated, calling their names, belittling their choices, and trying to isolate them from society. His attacks were not just words. They were attempts to drive a wedge between Canadians, turning one group against another for simply questioning the narrative.
And I know will not allow those voices, those special interest groups, those protesters I don't even want to call them protesters, those anti-vaxxer mobs, to dictate how this country gets through this pandemic and how we recover our economy free from lockdowns, where people can get back to work and back to doing the things they want to do and keep our kids safe.
An emotionally devastated father who lost his 17-year-old son due to a COVID jab is now speaking out, condemning Trudeau for mandating the vaccines and covering up the lethal dangers of the experimental jabs. Dan Hartman has harshly criticised Trudeau's remarks, where the Prime Minister claimed he never insulted Canadians who chose not to get vaccinated due to health and safety concerns. Hartman's message is clear. Trudeau's lack of accountability has cost lives, and he's not backing down.
I didn't call anyone names. Yeah, you did. Are you delusional? Here's something, I don't know, maybe this will work. How about you tell fucking Pfizer, fuck you Pfizer, the deal's off, you're hurting my people. I know people personally that would maybe forgive you, who hate you right now. Personally. But no, you just keep pushing it, don't you? You won't fucking admit that one single person has died from the vaccine, will ya? You won't even tell the truth. You're for Canadians. I love Canadians. No, you fucking don't. Tell the fucking truth. My boy is dead from your vaccine. Fuck you.
Justin Trudeau has more blood on his hands than many of history's most notorious tyrants. His government continues to euthanize Canadian citizens suffering from severe injuries linked to the COVID vaccines. Vaccines his administration not only mandated, but coerced the majority of the population into taking. Welcome to the New World Order, where the government is controlled by a cabal located in a Swiss mountain retreat. And when they consider you useless, they send you letters politely organising your upcoming death by lethal injection. I'm not describing a dystopian future, I'm talking about the here and now. Meet the man the Canadian government just killed because he was suffering from severe COVID vaccine injuries that they caused. Identified only as Mr. A by Canada's socialised healthcare system, the man experienced suffering and functional decline following 2 COVID vaccines and a booster. After the government-mandated vaccines destroyed his health, Mr. A began to suffer from depression, PTSD, anxiety, and personality disorders. But when he sought help, Canada's healthcare system offered no solutions for the damage done. They didn't prescribe antidepressants, provide counselling for his PTSD, or offer anti-anxiety medication. Instead, they told him it was simply his time to die. He was labelled useless by the elites, and his life was deemed expendable. How did we get here? How did the Canadian government reach a point where they're euthanizing citizens they themselves harmed with the very vaccines they forced on society? First, the government began euthanizing people with mental health issues. Then they came for people with disabilities, including mild hearing loss. Then they moved to legalize the euthanasia of infants who were deemed useless to society. Such is the enthusiasm for killing as many people as possible, a 42-year-old Canadian man is suing a hospital after secretly recording doctors discussing euthanizing him against his will. And don't think that being a decorated military veteran and Paralympic Games medalist will save you from the wrath of the state. Social credit scores can fall fast. 5 years into a battle to obtain a stairlift for her home, Canadian Army veteran and Paralympian Christine Gauthier found out the Canadian state had scheduled her for death.
We know that this is the latest incident that we are hearing about. It is coming from retired Corporal and Paralympian Christine Gauthier. Yesterday, she testified that the Department of Veteran Affairs offered her in writing the opportunity for a medically assisted death, even, she said, offering to provide the equipment. Now, Gauthier said she had been fighting for a home wheelchair ramp for 5 years. She described the letter she received from the department in French at the committee hearing. Here's more from her.
With respect to MAID, I have a letter in my file because I had to face that as well. I have a letter saying that if you are so desperate, madam, we can offer you MAID, medical assistance in dying.
Klaus Schwab's agenda to normalise state euthanasia, supported by Trudeau, has real-world consequences. People are now dying against their will, joining the long list of millions of people murdered by far-left governments in history. While the mainstream media remains complicit in covering up these crimes, the alarming rise in cancers among the vaccinated has finally forced more doctors and scientists to speak out. The truth can no longer be ignored, and the voices calling for accountability are growing louder. Epidemiologist Nicholas Holscher from the McCullough Foundation is now calling for an outright ban on COVID vaccines after autopsy data revealed that the injections have been linked to millions of deaths. The evidence is undeniable, and Holscher is joining the growing number of experts demanding immediate action to protect public health.
McCullough Foundation, I think they reported that brain clots are up 112,000% since the COVID shot was released. But other than a few conservative outlets, nobody else is reporting that, are they, Nick?
None of the mainstream media outlets are reporting on all of these recent studies that are demonstrating massive harms from the shots. Absolutely none. It's only on this alternative media and on social media. And, it needs more exposure to the general population that still believes these shots are safe. There's about 15% of Americans are still taking these mRNA shots. And I would think that they are unaware of these studies that demonstrate massive harm. Particularly, now we have a bunch of autopsy studies. Actually, a recent study, last week it was published, a systematic review of autopsy findings in deaths after COVID vaccination. We've proved that there is a causal link between COVID-19 vaccination and death. And so this needs to be heard, this needs to be seen. Class 1 criteria, the FDA's criteria for recalls has been fulfilled. That's when they suspect a product can cause death. And quite frankly, we've now confirmed large numbers of deaths from these products. It's time for a recall, and it's time for this information to reach the mainstream media.
We are living in critical times, and here at the People's Voice, we need your help to continue exposing the elites and holding them to account before it's too late. Join us in our mission to wake up the masses by subscribing to the channel and joining the People's Voice Locals community to join our amazing team. I hope to see you there. Today's video is brought to you by IPv6ers. Are you a content creator who wants to publish information online without Big Brother spying and censoring your every move?